Good afternoon. Now that we are returning from the Easter Passover break, the legislative session really heats up. This is the moment in time when we start to pass budget bills through the Minnesota House of Representatives. The Minnesota Senate will do the same through the Minnesota Senate. We've already seen the governor's complete budget, and negotiations will then begin. We're here today to talk about the Minnesota House DFL budget bills. In these budget bills, we've made an effort to make meaningful investments to support those who are most impacted by COVID: students, workers, families, and small businesses. And we'd like to restore tax fairness in order to do so. Our budget addresses needs for those most impacted by COVID, instead of the Republican proposals that seem to focus on those who did the best during COVID. Minnesota's childcare system was already in crisis before COVID. Our students at every level have had to weather a difficult year of distance learning. And before that, our education budgets were not as fully funded as they should have been. Our workers need support. They need protection at work to make sure that they can be safe and healthy, both at work and with their families. And they need economic security. We need measures like paid family medical leave in Minnesota and earned safe and sick time. And COVID has shown that we need those policies now more than ever. Investing in these areas now and critically on into the future, when the federal money has dried up and the one-time surplus is gone, requires ongoing progressive revenue. And we're raising sustainable, progressive revenue in our tax bill to make sure that we can back up the commitments that we're making to students and families and workers today. Our budget bills will be in committee this week, and we'll have floor action starting in mid-April. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Majority Leader, Ryan Winkler.
Good afternoon. Minnesotans have been working hard and making tremendous sacrifices to survive the pandemic. At the same time, over decades, more and more Minnesotans are working harder, making less, and having a harder and harder time getting by. Minnesotans need their state government to be there for them so that they can not only emerge stronger from this pandemic, but to have a sustained commitment to Minnesota families, to Minnesota's children, to Minnesota workers, and Minnesota's small businesses. Many who are rich and well-connected and who are just plain fortunate are doing better than ever after this pandemic, and they can afford to be part of the long-term investment that Minnesota needs. Under the House DFL budget, biggest corporations and richest Minnesotans will pay more to help Minnesota's families and workers emerge stronger from this pandemic and have a long-term, better future with greater economic security, greater fairness for Minnesota's families, Minnesota's children, and Minnesota's small businesses. And I will hand it off to Representative Moran.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Good afternoon. At this critical moment, lawmakers must prioritize Minnesotans who face the greatest hardship over the past year and who have the biggest hill to climb so that they can once again have the opportunity to succeed. If we learned anything during COVID-19 pandemic, we've learned that Minnesotans can tackle big challenges. But this can only happen when everyone is truly at the table, not just those who were doing well before the pandemic. Our investments in students, workers, families, and small businesses with an eye towards equity will help all Minnesotans have the strong future that they deserve. And I will pass it on to Chair Marquardt.
Thank you very much. I'm Representative Paul Marquardt, Chair of the House Tax Committee, and I'm joined here also by our Property Division Chair, Representative Joachim, who did a wonderful job putting together the Property Tax Division report. I also thank all the other tax committee members. So this tax bill will help families, workers, and small businesses recover from COVID-19. And besides that, also help to allow for very key investments into the future that will make for a better and stronger Minnesota. This tax bill will provide over $1 billion of tax cuts and aids to folks who get the Paycheck Protection Program loans, to workers who received unemployment insurance benefits, and to all other businesses and individuals who are hit hard by the COVID-19. And we do that by creating a stronger and better tax code by leveling the playing field, making our tax code more progressive, and also increasing tax fairness. So let me give you just a couple of the major details in the bill. And again, as we said from day one, we were not in the House going to leave anyone behind. We're going to help all our families, all of our workers, all of our small businesses who were hit hard by COVID-19. And that's what this tax bill and the entire budget does. So first of all, in the Paycheck Protection Program conformity, we do the loan exclusion up to $350,000 per loan. That means over 90% of all loans will see a complete tax exemption on their PPP loans. We also set up a state subtraction on unemployment insurance up to $10,200 for those who received unemployment insurance benefits. On top of that, in helping families, we will expand the working family credit by about $60 million, put about $55 million into housing for workforce, affordable housing, and homelessness prevention, and also $30 million of direct property tax relief for homeowners and renters. On the business side, besides the PPP conformity, there is $63 million of county business relief that will go to those businesses that might not have received a PPP loan or otherwise might not have qualified under various grants and loans and so forth. This gets out to every single business. We also cut the CI statewide property tax on businesses, going from $100,000 on market value exclusion to $150,000. And also there's a sales tax exemption for restaurants that needed in 20 and in 21 that needed to provide additional equipment for PPE and other things related to COVID-19. And finally, we do that by making our system stronger and better. And we're able to invest in these long-term investments by creating more fairness, more progressivity, and more fairness into our tax system. And so we do create a new fifth tier income tax bracket at 1.3% increase to 11.15 for married joint filers over $1 million. And we also bring back dollars that were earned in Minnesota but shifted to other countries. We bring those back to Minnesota to increase competitiveness for our small businesses. And the fifth tier is also to try to address the great disparities income-wise that this COVID-19 has brought. So it's a bill that creates more tax fairness, but provides important investments to COVID-19 recovery and investments into the future. And with that, I'll turn it over to House Education Finance Chair Dabney.
Thank you, Chair Marquardt, and thank you for your leadership in the tax area. It's much appreciated, along with Representative Loehrke. As Chair Marquardt indicated, I'm Representative Jim Dabney. I have the privilege of chairing the Education Finance Committee here in the Minnesota House. While Minnesota has a proud tradition of delivering a world-class education for many of our students, the pandemic has highlighted that this hasn't been provided for too many Minnesota children and their families across the state, especially in our communities of color. There will be some who will say now is not the time, or that we can't afford to be bold and lead. But House DFLers know that this is a critical moment where we must act. Our education budget is a values blueprint, which shows that we are ready to deliver the resources needed to make an honest and strategic investment in education, one that assists teachers and provides the necessary supports our students need to catch up after a difficult year. Our students, our families, and our state deserve no less. With that, I'd like to turn this over to Chair Pinto to talk about his leadership in the early childhood area.
Thank you, Chair Dabney. Representative Dave Pinto here, the chair of the House Early Childhood Finance and Policy Committee. We've learned during the pandemic that children's learning and child care are really two sides of the same coin. In addition to their critical educational function, our schools allow parents to work and our economy to function. And we also know that early care and learning was in crisis long before the pandemic. It actually was in two crises: the opportunity gaps that open up in the first months of life, And the economic mismatch in this sector, where families pay crushing costs for childcare, if they can find it at all, while workers, our most important teachers, work for poverty wages. Now, to provide high quality early care and learning just for the lowest income and youngest kids will cost about $1 billion, knowing the return on that investment is many times higher. Our House DFL budget bills announced today take great strides towards that, with an investment of nearly $600 million in a combination of federal and state general fund dollars. This includes more than $200 million to raise rates under the Child Care Assistance Program to get us much closer to the federal standard, nearly $40 million in early learning scholarships directed in particular at the very youngest and most vulnerable Minnesotans, more than $300 million in monthly payments to providers, with much of that directed to frontline workers to provide the stable base of support that they've never had. Grants to expand the supply of childcare, and some of these are carried in Chair Mahmoud Noor's workforce development budget. And finally, funding for deep evaluation and reform in this most critical area. Just as with education and care for older children, education and care for younger ones requires public support. In the short run, that support allows parents to work, employers to hire, communities to grow, and in the long run, it sets up children for success for the benefit of every one of us. And with that, I want to hand things off to the other end of the educational spectrum, the chair of our House Higher Ed Committee, Representative Connie Bernardi.
You're on mute, Connie.
Okay. In an unprecedented year of global pandemic, it's no secret our students have been hit especially hard. Our committee crafted together a higher education budget that serves students now and in the future, because Minnesota students deserve the opportunity to achieve their dreams and provide economic security for themselves and their families. We're investing in Minnesotans so they can thrive and emerge stronger post-COVID-19. Notably, our bill holds tuition flat at Minnesota State, makes permanent increased funding to the state grant program, which impacts over 75,000 students, prioritize financial support for people of color and American Indians studying to become teachers, which is an important tool in helping close the opportunity gap in Minnesota. And it strengthens our economy by expanding the ranks of career and technical education instructors in our high schools with a $400 pilot at Winona State and Southeast College in Winona. I pass it on to Chair Noor.
Thank you, Mahmoud Noor, Chair for Workforce and Business Development. Our Workforce and Business Development Bill establishes a framework designed to inform our state's economic stabilization and long-term recovery. It's focused on three core pillars: strengthening Minnesota's small business competitiveness, strengthening workforce development, and improving workplace benefits. These strategic pillars guide our legislative priorities. It provides grants to small businesses that demonstrate a need for financial relief based on lost revenues related to the disruption of business operation caused by COVID-19 pandemic, long-term investment in small businesses and workforce development, childcare business development in underserved areas, and workplace benefits such as paid family and medical leave, and earn and seek safe time in Chair Eklund's bill will help workers meet their personal and family healthcare needs while also fulfilling work responsibilities. Minnesota can and will emerge stronger and will move forward the vision we share to build thriving, equitable, and prosperous economy. I now turn to Chair Eklund.
Thank you, Chair Noor. I'm Representative Rob Eklund. It's my honor to chair the House Labor, Industry, and Veterans and Military Affairs Committee. Minnesota workers have borne a massive share of the COVID-19 pandemic's brunt, and the crisis has widened job security and job safety inequities in workplaces across the state. House DFLers are prioritizing the health and safety and economic security of our workers when they're on the job, when they need to recover from illness, and if they lost their job during the pandemic due to no fault of their own. Thank you for your time, and I think it's question time.
Yep, and our first question is from Peter Callaghan. Go ahead.
Thank you. For the Ways and Means Chair, to start with, it sounded like Representative Pinto made reference to this combination of federal and state dollars. But my question is, do you intend to appropriate the money from the American Recovery Plan that the state got, both the direct appropriations and some other pots of money that have state discretion, or do you leave that to the LAC process?
Well, thank you, Peter, for the question. So what the budget will be a reflection of the money that we know that we have in hand. That would be from the surplus, that would be from our targets. None of the committee chairs are utilizing any of the American Plan Act dollars. One, because we just don't know, we don't have any, what's the word I'm looking for? We don't know the language or how to roll it out or how to best utilize those dollars yet. We're waiting for directions from the federal government for that. So what you will see in the budgets will be a reflection of the dollars that we have in hand.
And then if I could follow, then do you think the legislature comes back at some point, supplemental budgets before the end of the regular session, or does that then instead flow through the LAC process?
I think what you will see is some amendments that will be coming forward that will give us the option that if those dollars do come from the federal government, that we will be able to utilize those dollars at some point.
Thank you.
All right, next question is from Bill Werner. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Ted. And this is really a two-part. I think the first one is going to be pretty quick. Did I miss it here? I know there was a reference to family medical leave. Is that actually in this proposal, or is it coming forward separately? That's question number one. And then question number two is probably for the speaker or the majority leader. You know Republicans' stance on what you are proposing as far as top bracket income tax increases and some of the other items. They're not going to agree to this. How do you get around just this ending up being a stalemate and you just get out of town with minimal amount of changes long term?
Well, I'll let Chair Eklund answer the first question second, but then I'll answer the second question first with regard to what Republicans say they will and they won't stand for. You know, we have been very clear that we don't think that cuts are appropriate. Nevertheless, the Minnesota Senate Republicans have substantial cuts all across state government at a time when we are unquestionably relying on our state employees more than ever. Does the name Chris Ayresman ring a bell? Does the name Jan Malcolm ring a bell? This is not a time to be cutting state government. These epidemiologists who are finding out what's going on with the COVID pandemic in the state of Minnesota, Steve Grove's shop getting out unemployment compensation to people as fast as they humanly can. The Minnesota Department of Revenue providing the small business assistance that we passed in December. This is absolutely a non-starter that we would cut government at this point in time. And in 2019, we heard from Republicans that they would not raise taxes. But at the end of the day, to get a budget that served the people of Minnesota, we did preserve the provider tax. And that brought in substantial revenue. I think it's something like $2.1 billion over a biennium and a half or two biennia. So what seems possible now is not necessarily what will look possible at the end of session when we're trying to find common ground. And I think it's really important that Minnesotans understand that the discussion of a purported $1.6 billion surplus is only a surplus if you thought that the last budget was sufficient. If you thought there were enough teachers in classroom, there was enough childcare for families who wanted to get childcare at an affordable price, that there were enough state services in all respects, only at that point can you call that $1.6 billion a surplus. And with much of it being one-time money and not ongoing, it's important that we make a commitment in progressive revenue. We know Republicans want to cut taxes for people who did the best during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're just saying everybody in Minnesota can pitch in and we can get through this together in a way that's fair and makes our state stronger over the long term. So that is why we have revenue in our proposal. We think it is critically important for Minnesota now and into the future. And I think Chair Eklund can speak to the paid family medical leave issue.
The House House File 1200 was laid over for possible inclusion, which we did. It's in Article 4 and 5 of the Workforce and Business Development. Decisions will be made later to send that bill separately. At this point, for the bill that is before you online, is including the paid family medical leave.
Okay, so this is part of the proposal then, is paid family medical leave. That part of the proposal you're making today, that is in here.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. It's in the House File 1342, which is the omnibus bill for workforce and business development.
Thank you. I just want to verify that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Oh, there's a question. Ricardolopez, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to get some updates on a couple of things. Just wanted to get an update on the status of the safe account negotiations and whether you expect to see any more negotiations happening on that this session. And then secondly, wanted to get some sort of statement or position on, I believe there might be a proposal for businesses who are wanting liability from sort of COVID-19 lawsuits and things like that. I think that's on the wish list for the Chamber of Commerce, if I'm not mistaken, but just wanted to know whether that has any chance this year at the legislature.
Well, I can speak to the first issue, and perhaps the majority leader can address the second issue. As to the first issue on the SAFE Act, I think last time we had a press conference, we talked about the fact that we were pretty much at an impasse. We had extremely modest accountability measures in the legislation that were absolute no-goes for Republicans in the House. So without Republican House members being willing to accept even a modicum of accountability measures, such as an after-action report, really nothing radical there, nothing substantial in the way of police reform and accountability. That's the really, really small measures related to policing of people exercising their First Amendment rights. The SAFE Act negotiations have just reached an absolute standstill. We have been assured by the Minnesota State Patrol and the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety that Operation Safety Net is operating well, and the planning has taken place in conjunction with the Minnesota National Guard. And the city of Minneapolis has reached a number of mutual aid agreements with neighboring law enforcement entities. And the city of St. Paul and the East Metro is also very well covered by mutual aid agreements. So, I could imagine that there will be additional conversations because we will want to reimburse the Minnesota State Patrol, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, and others for the assistance they provide during the Chauvin trial. But at this point, the SAFE Act moving as a standalone bill, negotiations on that have completely stalled out. Now, with regard to liability protections that businesses might be seeking, I'll turn it to the majority leader.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Ricardo. This issue of passing a law to allow companies to avoid responsibility for their wrongdoing, even in a COVID-19 pandemic scenario, has been under discussion by Republicans here and there throughout the pandemic. We have never seen a major effort on their behalf to bring it forward. And we also have not seen abuses of our legal system by people trying to take advantage of the pandemic to get some kind of legal windfall. So Minnesota's tort system works very well. We do not have the abuses like we see in other states. And there is no reason at this point in time to think that the liability bill that the chamber has talked about has any reason to be a priority for the House or the Senate.
Great, thank you.
All right, Peter Callahan with another question. Go ahead.
I ask the taxes chair, I've been going through your descriptions, but I didn't see a corporate tax rate increase in your proposal. And I also didn't see anything related to the first tier income tax. Can you react to those two pieces that had been in the governor's proposal?
That is correct. There's no changes like that in the House bill.
Thank you.
All right, I am not seeing, Mary Loehrke, go ahead.
Hi, one question. Before the break, the minority leader Doubt had criticized the majority for just general lack of action and was claiming it was one of the least productive legislative sessions thus far in modern state history. Can you just talk about generally the productivity and the thought about the pace of bills passed and signed into law thus far?
Well, it's kind of funny to compare our first pandemic session in a budget year to previous sessions that weren't in a pandemic. But I would say that we have met the marker for productivity that former Speaker Doubt himself showed in 2015. I believe at this point we've sent more bills to the governor's desk than they had, or the same number. We have passed a lot fewer bills off the floor, but when he was the speaker in 2015, most of the bills that they passed off the floor crashed and burned and never made it to the governor's desk. So we have chosen not to spend a bunch of time on the House floor passing things that we don't think have a role in negotiations and that we don't think will make it to the governor's desk. So, and the other piece about, that's what the minority does, right? They look for things to criticize the majority. And that's what the minority does with vis-a-vis the governor. So, for example, we have a governor who's managing a pandemic extraordinarily well. Nevertheless, we have Republicans with a constant litany of complaints about his handling of the crisis. And that's appropriate that the minority party would challenge the majority party to be as productive and successful as they absolutely can be. But I feel very good about our productivity. The other thing that's important to realize is our committee deadlines are very important. You can see from these committee chairs how much time and effort they put into putting their bills together and how much they worked with the members of their committee to develop these great finance bills. And we have made the strategic decision to keep them off of the floor and in committee working on those bills. We had the first policy deadline on March 12th, the second one, I think, on March 19th, and then we went out on break on March 26th. So it's very natural that not until the second policy deadline of March 19th would we spend any serious time on the floor. And that last week that we were in session was a quite busy time on the floor because the policy committees had stopped meeting and finance chairs were getting ready. So no, I mean, I don't think he really had any point, but I understand why he's trying to make a point. That's his job.
All right. I think last question from Shannon Loehrke. Go ahead.
Hi, I wonder if you would just react to the Republicans' point of view. How much will the governor's continued use of emergency powers play a role in negotiations as things go forward, do you think?
Well, I think all Minnesotans have an opportunity to have an impact on the governor's use of emergency powers. And that is if we mask, socially distance, keep washing our hands, and keep cautious as our vaccinations are in the tens of thousands, a day, that if we can really knock COVID-19 on its ass, then the governor will have no further need to exercise the emergency powers. I think there's two key areas we're looking for maybe a legislative solution that he could hang on to some power, but not have to continue the whole Chapter 12 emergency powers. And that would be to continue to run the vaccination sites and to continue to run the testing sites even after the legislature leaves on May 17th. There might be a couple other key powers that he needs to continue to exercise. I think we could scale them down, but Minnesotans have the fate of the state in their hands with whether they continue to behave in a cautious manner.
That we have said from the beginning that as long as Republicans are willing to be responsible and work with us, we want to work with them and make sure that the legislature is living up to its role. But what we have seen too often is partisan opposition to a governor managing a pandemic. And regardless of how many people have died, regardless of how close we are to the end of COVID-19, regardless of how many people have been vaccinated, they are constantly saying that the emergency is over. In contrast to what all the public health professionals are warning us about. We've seen cases go up in Minnesota. So I would say again, on the budget, on federal funds, on emergency powers, if Republicans are willing to be responsible and actually be negotiating and working with us in good faith in a timely manner, we want to work with them. But we are not going to hand over responsibility for the health and safety of Minnesotans and our economy to people who just want to score political points.
All right, I think we'll have to wrap up there. Speaker Hortman, do you have any closing comments?
Sure. I just want to say that I'm really grateful for all of the members of the Minnesota House of Representatives, but especially these chairs who have put together really an incredible package of bills that reflect the priorities that we think that Minnesotans would want us to have. And that is to help those who are most impacted by COVID-19 get through the pandemic and recover once it's over. And then to regard the rest of us as a whole team in helping make sure that happens so that we can be healthy and thriving together when COVID-19 is in the rearview mirror. So thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to the last 6 weeks or so of the legislative session.